welcome to TRD Sketchy Sunday. This is sketch number 40. I think we are on sketch number 40. I can't believe it. Okay, so not only is it Sketchy Sunday, but also this is episode 4 in my series Think Outside the 12 by 12, where I teach you how to use smaller than 12 by 12 digital prints, obviously my collections, on 12 by 12 layouts. And today I thought that this would be a great sketch. Let's look at the sketch. I thought that this would be a great sketch to talk about lesson 4, which is printing at the max size-ish that you can. And so that would be for US people, that would be 8.5 by 11. For international, it's A4, which is just slightly skinnier and longer than 8.5 by 11. These aren't quite 8.5 by 11 prints. In fact, this one is my largest print, and it is 8 by 9.5. 8 by 9.5. This one is 11 inches by 5 inches, I believe. Anyway, they are the sketch proportions. So you can see I have these large blocks of pattern printed out. This one is 9 by 5, which is pretty much exactly the proportions of the sketch. And I have my photos as well. And then I also printed out a couple of extra things that aren't included on the sketch, but we've also got these paper strips that are 11 inches long. Obviously, they are the longest that I can print. Well, I have a 12 by 12 printer, but this is the longest that you can print on a 8.5 by 11. So it is perfect for this sketch specifically. So let's chat about that while we scrapbook this page. Let's go. Okay, so for my page, I printed out the papers at the proportion that they were for the sketch. You know, I obviously had access to do that. It wasn't that hard. But if you print out full 8.5 by 11s, it's really easy to just trim down to the proportions that you want. But that is how we're approaching this page, is maximizing the space that you can print. We often think that we have to go all in on paper strips or go all in on punches when we are trying to use printables or trying to use paper scraps that are not necessarily a full 12 by 12 inches. I think a lot of us have this hang up where we think that if we don't have a full 12 by 12 paper, then we are limited in some way for what we can do, which is just absolutely not true. Obviously, you need a full 12 by 12 piece of paper for the background. You can't get around that. I will show you one way to sort of get around that later in a different lesson, but even then you still kind of need a base, and so you're always going to need a 12 by 12 base of some sort. But beyond that, you don't have to go super small just to use printables. We have full 8.5 by 11 prints available to us if we have a home printer, and we can just go that large. So my largest paper here is not 8.5 by 11, it's slightly smaller, but I do have a few 11-inch blocks with those 2 banners down there, as well as the floral paper. So we can go large, and you can see that this page is going to be full of color, full of pattern. I have a lot going on, even though I could not use a full 12 by 12 piece of paper. So that's my soapbox moment for lesson number 4. Let's move on to what we're actually doing here, and that's scrapbooking this page. I almost have this completely done for this sketch itself. I added that notebook paper just because I had it in the digital kit and I felt like I wanted to use it. I also switched my journaling over to these 2 labels from the collection as well, rather than putting it directly on the background paper like the sketch had said to do. And now I'm going to go through all of my previously cut out die cuts from this collection. I did print and cut a few that I thought I might use for this collection, or for this page specifically. But of course I have a lot of this collection still printed out. I believe it's 2 years old, but I printed out a lot at the time. So I have a lot left over, including all of these really cool cardstock die cuts that are from the cut files that were included in the Wildflower collection. So I printed these butterflies, and these butterflies are actually from the digital kit, and they are white, sort of stencil-ish butterflies with all of those colored portions are actually cutouts, but I thought that they would be too small to cut out. They're too delicate at that size, so I decided to back them with color, and sadly they were just still too big for this page. I really wanted them to work, but they were just too large, and so I'm going to end up taking them off. I'll just save them for a different use later, but at this point in the sketch, I have, you know, the basic idea of where the title goes, the journaling's down, like the basic sketch is done here, except for I'm just struggling a little bit with what I want to do as far as embellishment. There are 3 places of embellishment on the sketch, and that is what like the guide that I'm following, but what do I want to add is kind of where I'm going here. I didn't love the blue when I was building this page, but now that I'm looking at it in the video, I do kind of love that blue. That would have been a nice addition, I think, but I ended up going with all the green and white leaves instead, as well as this white flower that I die cut, and then, well, I die cut it a long time ago, but then I layered it so that it would have a little bit more depth. And I'm going to build up this title basically only because I have a lot of space up there, because I had a lot of space for a large title in the sketch, and that Thrive kind of fades into the background. So I wanted to build up that title a little bit more so that it would stand out a little bit. So I've kind of got everything put down here. I'm going to glue down this Thrive, and this is when I decide that I'm going to stamp some additional titles. So I'm going to put it down first, and then I'm going to use some Citrus Twist stamps to add my title, or the rest of my title, in some navy Catherine Pooler ink. I believe I used Juniper Mist, which is one of my favorite navies. And then I'm going to use 2 different Citrus Twist alphabets. I'm going to use this one, and I will have the actual alphabets linked in the blog post for this page, because I don't know the names of these offhand, but they will be linked if you are interested in them. This is my like go-to Citrus Twist alphabet. I freaking adore this alphabet. So I'm putting Survive in that alphabet, and then I'm going to use this one, which is like a little type key alphabet, to add Don't Just. So it's going to say Don't Just Survive, Thrive. And it does really look like that Thrive disappears on the video, but in real life it's a lot easier to see, so don't worry about that. It does a little bit of a disappearing act on video. So I have like this weird awkward space between Don't Just Survive and like Thrive. I wish I had nestled it a little bit better, but I didn't. I decide I'm gonna go with it and forget about it. I tried to put that butterfly there, but it was not going to, like, it just broke up the title weird. So I'm replacing those butterflies that I printed with the actual stickers from the collection, and I'm going to pop them up on Pop Dots so that they give a little bit of depth to this page that's going to be mostly paper, obviously. And so I'm just popping them up in the center and letting their wings sort of fly free. And then I'm going to, what am I going to do after that? Oh, so I'm looking at this, and I like it for sure, but I'm feeling like all of the clusters don't feel fully like fleshed out or thought out. So I'm kind of trying to decide what I want to do here. I'm thinking about it while I'm doing other things, while I'm making sure that the sketch is coming together the way I want it to as well. So you can see I'm auditioning a few things that I think are just not going to fit. I really wanted to use this Simply Magical tag, but I end up not using it because I put the Seek Joy right there, and the only place that made sense for me was to put this Simply Magical on the bottom of one of these photos, but then I would have Seek Joy and Simply Magical in like the same horizontal plane as each other, and it just was too much word bit all at once. Okay, so now I've decided that I'm going to start putting these die cut leaves in these clusters, because it says Don't Just Survive, Thrive, and Stay Wild, and it's the Wildflower collection. So like the whole collection is based on like, when I designed it, it was sort of based on the concept of you see a weed, others see wildflowers kind of a thing. So like growing in adversity and that kind of stuff. So I decided that I wanted to add to that concept with these leaves growing out of my clusters. And I think that that added a lot of dynamic movement to this page and made me really enjoy it a lot more. Then I decided to add the little floral sprigs as well, but I'm still struggling up here with this one. It's like the one that's not coming together for me is the one up there by Stay Wild, because it's just shaped differently than the rest. So I'm struggling a little bit to figure out what I want to put up there, because I think it also needs this sort of leaf treatment, but because of the way that it's shaped, a lot of the leaves that I'm auditioning up there just aren't making sense. So I'm going to glue these down. And I love the way that those floral clusters came out. They just perfect vision right there. So I glued those down while I thought about what I wanted to add here, and I thought, well, what if I anchored it on this wood grain paper instead? And that started opening up my brain a little bit to figure out what I wanted up there. And so then I found these little taupe leaves, and they were perfect. They were the perfect size to build around this cluster. Look at how much better that looks. Oh, I love it. And then I needed one little floral, so I just tucked that one under there. You could see my little jazz hands there that I was super happy about. That, and then that is it for this page. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci and Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to both the sketch blog post and the blog post for lesson number 4 in the 12 by 12 series, linked in the description box below, and I will see you next time. Thank you.